All right. Um, you might have heard the last bit of a conversation. Um, you will redact that from your memory. It's private. I'm not sure what I said, but I'm sure it was all okay. Anyway, here we are. Yes. Okay. Said that already, and um, what is all right? Good. The last thing I wanted to mention in terms of last class was if you want a little more information about ethnography, some of you are into and you're interested in the exotic, life of the ethnographer. I have an utter bias in terms of methodology to think that ethnography is the best form of research, and so I'm frequently very reluctant to talk about it. I don't talk about a lot of anthropology. I'm trying. I and you will both be trying to sell this stuff to lay people, and so the more we can neutralize it and not put shop talk and all that sort of stuff, the better. Okay. So it's not about I am an anthropologist, but that I do anthropology, or better yet, I do qualitative research. Right? And but regardless, if you do want to get a little deeper into it, you can look at this video from Park, and Park is these guys. Bob knows about Park. You ask him. But they were some of the early first people who got design outside of things like interior design of a building and into designing in terms of a new format and having social science help inform the design process. The idea of ethnographers sitting with engineers and that sort of thing is a novel thing. That Park was some of the first people to do. Anyway, there's a nice talk in there. I would say the middle 10 minutes here, from minutes 4 to 16, would do it for you to give you a good handle of what I'm talking about. So that's that. Now, Module 2. Okay, Prelude to Qualitative Fieldwork. There are 3 parts to it, even though the third part is not really, it's only going to be introduced in class, and I might even not even introduce it in class, but introduce it online. Introduced this module because in truth, the ethics module is something I've always designed as a distance module, and frankly, when discussing ethics, it's far better to have a discussion rather than someone lecturing you, unless that lecturer is like a deity, or a judge, or a religious figure that you hold in high respect, that's telling you not to do something or whatever. But for most ethicists, like the ancient Greeks, we do it as a discussion. Right? You can get in bathrobes and get drunk if you want, like the ancient Greeks, or just go on the blog and participate like that. Anyway, part 1, theory epistemology. This is again the philosophical deep dive that I'm demanding. Sorry, but your leaders know, so deal with it. And then and that one, part 1. See part 1A here. We got Bailey, very easy read. I used to do mini presentations on it, and there's bunches of little PowerPoints that predecessors of yours have done that are probably in the Dropbox, so have at. The real effort you got to put in is reading this one. I want you all to read it. The Becker article on epistemology. Becker's great, and he deals with complex subject matter very well. It's very sensical. The next one is Turner. This is not as difficult a reading, but it is an important one, and so it's less frightening, I think. Kind of like the Gertz reading was challenging. That'll be how Becker is. Turner will not be that way, and Zimmerman and Weider will not be that way either. Now, Zimmerman-Weider is an odd one. It's from 1977. It's old, and all that, and it's only something that I knew because I'm in a rare, weird group of folks called ethnomethodologists who do frame-by-frame analysis of videotape, to understand universal social features about humans interacting with each other. Like the things like when you get a little too close to a person, how we all feel awkward when how close is too close? Things like that. Anyway, this guy Weeder wrote the best dissertation that my advisor's advisor ever read. The guy Ray McDermott at Stanford. That's what he always said about Weeder. But the other interesting thing about this, in terms of its applicability, people have used the method explained in Zimmerman and Weeder. You guys, repeatedly, over and over. Kate Bays used it in her research. She graduated 2 years ago. Kathleen Schock used it in her research last year. So it's an oldie but a goodie, apparently. Hence, read it. All these articles are in Dropbox or hyperlinked here. Multiple things. This little 14-minute thing is where I try to make my plea for more sympathy to the inductive side of reality. All right? I'll leave that to that. The slides or the video alone. But do watch the video, because there's a lot of good stuff in there, and then I don't have to talk about it in class, even though I'd love to. Part 2 is the methodology, and this is more getting into techniques, okay? And that's Bailey, chapter 5 and 6. Start introducing techniques in the general sense. The whoppers here are this book length for the K-12. This is by track, so this is the higher ed folks. You would read, see higher ed, read The Library Study by Foster Gibbons. And the P-12 folks read the Lancy book. That's the entire book, chapters 1 through 7. Lancy, it's 100 pages. But like they say on the first day of grad or law school, you are never going to be able to read everything that we assign you to read, and hence strategic consumption of data is the game. When you open this text, plan to have something you're looking for in it, and look for that and emphasize that. And maybe it is technique. The Foster Gibbons is a study of, I think it's Rochester, a big university, Research One and all that sort of stuff, where they analyzed ethnographers, anthropologists, studied library users, the kids, the faculty, and how they could help inform the design of the library to better improve life with them. So there's a lot of cool novel techniques that come into it. And in terms of novel, ethnographic techniques, instead of a focus group, a workshop, that sort of thing. So, and there's multiple authors in there as well. And so you could focus on some people's readings and skip the others if you want, just to get a good grip of it. All right? This is, again, you're a leader. This is some research. You'll be able to say, oh, yeah, I read this library study one time. I think it was by someone, to get a handle of it. That's kind of the idea. And there are previous PowerPoints in there potentially. I think I'm sharing more with Liz right now. I replicated elements of this study. Me, Hank Delcourt, and Cindy Matson. When she was after she was a doctoral student, we did this totally separately, but got a publication out of it. It's not as rigorous and nowhere near as well funded as this study, which is why I'm still saying read Foster Gibbons. That's the big one. But it gets you to think about the kind of research you could do. That all of your research is geared towards informing architects, as it were. But it's not architects. It's designing how a student lives in a college setting and a faculty member, how you could better design products that they have to vie within, either be they digital or physical, in terms of, making learning increase. And so there you are. The next one for the P-12 folks, the Lancy. This is, again, if you want to hear an anthropologist's opinion of ed, here's an anthropologist. Unlike me, I was a teacher for years. I'm an anthropologist of education. I've been in ed. I'm in a department of ed now, working with you guys and all that. But this guy's an utter outsider. He's just a pure anthropologist. But what he studies is enculturation writ small, to the element of teaching and learning. Okay. So he brings a nice cross-cultural element to it, looking at kids from other countries and all that sort of stuff. And the chapters are all separate, and that's the same thing with your readings. You might focus on some chapters and not on others. Suzanne might help us with a pre-reading guide as well, and Liz as well, for that matter. And I've been telling moderators to potentially do this. Maybe you get the students, your class, to do some stuff prior to class, again, because we're trying to crunch down on the actual time really needed face to face. And so if potentially some blog discussion, pre-reading sort of work is required of you, 5 days before class, don't bemoan it because it goes towards us getting out before lunch. Okay. Inshallah. Activity. What's this? I don't know what this is. Write a research. Yeah, I think you guys already did this because I've been hounding you on it. Write a good research question. And I haven't gotten to grading them because some people hadn't done it yet. Grading them, I'm not grading them. It's not pass fail. It's just I know how to write good research questions, and I can look at yours and say, this could be, and all that. That's all. And I'm not the only one. This whole class, we could all be helping each other write more solid, legitimate dissertation questions. Okay. Again, like I said, part 3 is ethics in the field. It's really important that you are ethical in the field. My class is the only class that really does much on ethics, and previous town hall meetings and all that mentioned that it's good that we cover ethics somewhere, and this is the where. Okay. And so most of it we're going to do outside of class. All right. So after the next time we meet, before the time we come back after that, there'll be a chunk of time, a few weeks in between there, whereby we're going to do all this stuff for ethics. And frankly, I'm going to leave it there because this video is getting too long anyway. I like to keep these things very short, 7 minutes max. And so the only thing I would say is the my freshman, if you're the higher ed folks reading my freshman year, there's some nice ethical quandaries that come up in that book that you could apply to our listserv discussion. We're going to have kind of a blog discussion on some incidents, some scenarios. What if you had, a little medicine or whatever, this type of scenarios. Blazer incident's one of them, and I've got a few more. All right, I think that's everything. Yes, it is. And I know I'm supposed to have that little hit list thing. Haven't done that yet. What's it called? That little. Anyway, good. I want to get this to you quickly. All the best, guys. I said it before. I love this group. You guys got good energy. I'm really exhilarated by the fact that we are all working to the same goal. I don't feel that teacher-student crapola that I have felt with previous cohorts. So, amen. Cheers.